On first down, they hand off to Marlon Mack. Huge hole, 50-yard line. He's at the 40, still going near sideline. He's at the 10. He's at the 5, and he will score. Touchdown, Marlon Mack. Touchdown, I-N-D-Y. And again, it's picked off. It's Darius Leonard. Leonard with a second INT, and he's streaking down the near sideline. He's at the 40. He's at the 30. He's at the 20. He's going to go. A pick six for the Maniac. Kenny Moore gets to Deshaun Watson. That's a sack for Kenny Moore. Kenny has a pick and now a sack in the game.
Horseshoe is back, baby. The horseshoe is back.
How's it going, Colts Nation? Welcome back to the Bring the Juice podcast. We are your co-hosts, Derek Larger and Cody Felger, and today we're going to be breaking down the 2020 Colts draft class, and we're going to be talking to you guys. It's going to be a little different this time than the other three draft classes that we have discussed. This time, we're not going to make a worst to best based off of production. We can't do that right now because it's the offseason and that draft just happened. So what we're going to do is we're going to rank these as our least favorite to our most favorite draft pick. So that's how we're going to do this one, because we want to just have some, and that's where it might create some different kind of moods for everyone, right? I mean, because some people might like a certain pick more than the other. So it's a different perspective on this one. So I'm going to go first on this because I always have Cody go first here. I'm going to go with my least favorite pick out of this whole draft, this 2020 draft for the Colts. And my first guy is going to be Robert Windsor. Now, the only reason that I say Robert Windsor in this situation is due to the fact that I think his ability to help this team is very limited at this moment. You know, we obviously added so many defensive linemen this offseason, and now we have a defensive tackle group that is near filled already. You know, Robert Windsor's just going to have a difficult time finding anywhere to get any time in. And, you know, he's not very flexible. There's not a whole lot of different places you can actually put him, at least not right now. So ultimately, I just think, you know, it's a very limited pick. You just don't know what you're going to get out of him completely. So that's ultimately why Robert Windsor is my least favorite pick of this 2020 draft. Cody, who's yours?
Yeah, it's Robert Windsor as well. Yeah, for the reasons you just stated, Derek, I just don't know if there's a place on this roster for Robert Windsor. Now, who knows? Maybe he's a practice squad type of guy. But, you know, like you said, the investment that the Colts have made in the free agency at that defensive interior, I mean, that just speaks volumes to how bad they felt that defensive interior, especially that three technique played last year. Their biggest weakness, undoubtedly. But I look at a guy like Windsor, who started out at Penn State as a nose tackle. He lost like 20 or 30 pounds. Then he shifted over to the three technique. And I kind of look at that three technique and I kind of say, oh, obviously you traded for DeForest Buckner. That was essentially your first round pick. But then, you added Sheldon Day, who's probably going to play the one technique. Danico Autry played that three technique last year. He's probably find a home at that backup three technique. And Grover Stewart's still there at that one technique. So, you have 4 defensive linemen there. He's probably going to be the 5th defensive lineman. I just don't know, unless he can play some defensive end or something, or unless Danico Autry goes out and plays more end, I just don't know where Windsor fits on this 53-man roster. And I felt like, there were some other positions that you probably could have addressed and probably should have addressed that would give this pick more of a chance to potentially make that final 53-man roster. But who knows? Obviously, it's still early. We haven't seen these guys, these rookies in training camp or even in OTAs. So it'll be completely different. Maybe Windsor's a guy that completely shocks the world and is just absolutely incredible. And the Colts have no choice but to keep him on their 53-man. I don't know. But overall, for me, at least right now, I don't like this pick just simply because I feel like there was other positions you could address. So totally get you there. And then I guess the next guy on my list here probably be Desmond Patman, wide receiver for Washington State. He was a 6th-round pick. He was a slew of 3 back-to-back-to-back picks that the Colts made in the 6th round. Big body guy, so I really like that. I just think, your wide receiver position is just so full. I don't know if he's going to make that final 53-man roster as well. It's kind of similar there to Robert Windsor. But I feel like this guy has, more of the physical tools than Windsor kind of does. Give me those similar vibes to EJ Speed, Marvell Tell, those type of guys, the later round guys that have the physical tools kind of coming out of smaller schools out of Washington State. But I just have him here simply because I just don't know if he's going to make much of an impact. I don't really know if he's plays special teams. But big body wide receiver, so he may challenge, for that fifth wide receiver spot, or even if the Colts decide to keep six guys, whatever they do there. I just think, early impact, I just don't see him making much of one. And so that's why I have him there as my second least favorite guy of this 2020 draft. Derek, who do you have?
Yeah, I'm going with Patman as well, for obviously the reasons that you mentioned. And I was upset because, KJ Hill was there and I wanted KJ Hill. And I was saying it throughout all the freaking sixth round that for some odd reason, KJ Hill kept falling. We went with Desmond Patman. Like, I understand the receiver class was something that we needed to address, and we did in this draft for sure. But I mean, I just felt we could have had a different option there. But, again, Desmond Patman, we just don't know what we're going to exactly get out of him right away, whether or not he's actually going to make the receiver group at all. He might have to start on the practice squad, so I don't necessarily know there. But my number 3 guy that I'm going to go with is Jordan Glasgow, just because I do actually like the prospect of this. Glasgow is a guy that, you can put in a multitude of different ways on defense, and he's obviously a defense or a special teams guy. So obviously, Ballard loves that and Frank Reich loves that. So it's no wonder going with a guy like Jordan Glasgow at this spot makes total sense for them. But, I just think he might be a little limited in how he affects NFL playmakers. So I'm again, just another one that, we're just going to have to see what he does in special teams to see if he can earn a spot. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going with Glasgow too. Yeah, he's just a guy he's probably going to make this roster just because he's a special teams ace. He could be one of the best special teams players even this year. He's really, really good at that. But I just don't see him making much of an impact on the actual defense. So yeah, that makes sense. I think for me having him there, it's not like we dislike the pick. It's just kind of that's kind of where we are in terms of that. Okay, for my next guy then, I'll probably go Isaiah Rodgers. I do like this pick though. I really do. It just was sad for me to see Quincy Wilson go. It just is a bummer to watch that. But Rodgers can kind of give you a few things. I just think the biggest thing for me is just the height. He's just not a very tall corner, which no slant on him. He seems like he knows how to make plays. He made a lot of plays at UMass, but he can offer you some help similar to Glasgow, but he can more help in the return game. And I think it's kind of funny because Chester Rogers, another Rogers guy, is not coming back to the Colts, and they may replace the Rogers with the Rogers there. So he can certainly help there. I think he has a chance certainly to make that final 53-man roster. But, I felt like also corner was a position that you addressed a lot already in free agency. So, I kind of felt like, he may make the 53-man roster. He'll probably, if he does, his bread and butter will probably have to be as a return specialist or just a special teams gunner or something along those lines. So that's kind of why I have him here. But I do like this pick, especially in the 6th round. I think it could potentially be a steal that the Colts have there. Who do you have, Derek?
So just because this is what I'm thinking for this year, just for simply this year and this year only, I'm not going to say this is for the future per se, but I'm going to go with Danny Pinter on this one, just for the simple fact that I don't, again, Danny Pinter is not going to start. He's not going to play unless somebody gets injured. Right. And I just think Isaiah Rodgers on special teams can provide you some more options there. And not to mention, yeah, Isaiah Rodgers is small, but I mean, Danny Pinter is as well for somebody at his position. So, I mean, Isaiah Rodgers also has freakish athletic ability that just is unmatched by a lot of people. So I like what I can potentially see in Rodgers more than anything else. So that's why I would put Danny Pinter there, and then I would go Isaiah Rodgers. That's how I would go. I'd just flip. I would just go Danny Pinter before Isaiah. But after Isaiah, who is next for you, Cody?
Yeah, then it is Danny Pinter for me as well. A little bit undersized type of guy, but I feel like you needed to add some depth, especially at the interior. You brought back LaRaven Clark, so you have to think you at least have a sort of experienced guy at that backup tackle position. But in the interior, I mean, you didn't really have anybody. You lost two of your main backup interior guys and felt like you needed to add some more there. I felt like that was one of the bigger needs on this Colts team. So, yeah, for me, I think Danny Pinter, I like this pick. I think it's a good depth pick, at least for year one. Who knows? Maybe he could challenge for that guard spot next year. Really depending on the future of what happens with Mark Glowinski. That's just going to hinge on kind of Danny Pinter and how they address the offensive line, in the next few years. But I certainly think he has potential fringe starter backup potential here. And I think he's a guy that could be kind of similar to a Joe Haeg, where he can play multiple positions. He played tackle in college at Ball State, and now the Colts see him more as a guard center type of guy. So he's going to have experience at all the positions, which I think is very invaluable for, just an offensive lineman in general. And so, yeah, for me, I'm probably going to go Danny Pinter there as well. And then this is going to be interesting. This is where we get a little bit more into kind of the dicey type picks, kind of the controversial, if you will, type of selections and in our personal favorites. I think for me, I'm probably going to go Julian Blackmon here because that I feel like he's coming off an ACL injury. I don't, because we saw with the last safety that the Colts drafted, Malik Hooker, in 2017. He had an ACL injury and he hasn't been, I feel like, what we saw in 2017. Yeah, for me, that's who I have there.
All right, so you had Blackmon at 4. I'm actually going to agree with you with Blackmon because, again, like I enjoy the pick. I really do. I just think that, again, with that ACL injury, you have those issues, you have the wonders, and who knows what's going to happen with Malik Hooker right away. Who knows? But, it's still just some uncertainty with that. My number 3 one was Jacob Eason. I just loved the value of where you got Jacob Eason when you got him in the 4th round, when most people were saying this guy's going to be a 2nd round draft pick. You basically got him for a steal in the 4th round. I mean, it's incredible that he was able to slip that far and land in a position, because even if you don't believe he's going to be the quarterback of a year or 2 years from now, he can potentially be that guy of the future later on when he gets more experience and gets behind a Hall of Fame quarterback. So just ultimately where you got Jacob Eason, it just is so good to see Eason in a Colts uniform in the 4th round. Cody, who do you have here as your 3rd guy?
Yeah, Jacob Eason as well. I love the value of where you got him. He can make every single throw. I know there's been some questions on his commitment, to football, and is he passionate enough and stuff like that. I know there's been questions on that, but for me, yeah, I like where you got him because I feel like the 4th round, you can be okay if he doesn't pan out. He may pan out, and you may have gotten your franchise quarterback in the 4th round, a guy who has, 2nd round potential type of guy. But if it doesn't work out, he can just be your backup. I mean, it's kind of like no harm, no foul type of guy. I mean, he could be a Marlon Mack or he could be a Zach Banner type of thing. Hopefully he's more of Marlon Mack than Zach Banner, obviously. But I like the where you got him here in the 4th round because, you don't have beyond Jacob Eason now. I mean, before Jacob Eason was drafted, you didn't have any quarterback under contract past this year. And I think that's important as well. Especially, Frank Reich also talked about he thinks Phillip Rivers could potentially play multiple years, which I think will be so valuable for Eason. He won't be drafted and then thrown into the fire in year one, maybe not even year two. So he may have 2 years to sit behind a Hall of Fame quarterback who has a similar playing style to him and learn how to be a pro, on and off the field, which I think is huge. And also just, being able to overall, just sit there and just learn and just really soak it all in and not have that pressure on him in year one. So for me, I like this Jacob Eason pick, especially in the 4th round. I think it's a fantastic steal potentially that the Colts can get. Now moving on here to our final 2. These could be a little bit controversial, but I think I'm going to go, honestly, this may be rough for people, but I'm going to go Michael Pittman because I think Jonathan Taylor is that good. You can't argue with back-to-back 2,000-yard seasons. And I know Michael Pittman was fantastic in his own right? Like he had over 100 catches. I think he dropped like 5 or 6 passes his entire career at USC, which is absolutely incredible. But I feel like Jonathan Taylor is going to take this Colts running attack to another level. I just feel like, this Colts team had the 7th best rushing team. I think they could honestly have a top 3 running attack with Jonathan Taylor and Marlon Mack. There are fumbling issues, but honestly, Tom Rathman has shown his running backs do not put the ball on the turf. They do not, and so I think overall that's super, super exciting, especially with how productive he was in the Big Ten. I mean, my brother, who's a Purdue fan, he was telling me, when we played the Wisconsin, Jonathan Taylor literally scored 7 touchdowns on us, and he was their entire offense, and he is the reason why we lost that game to Wisconsin. And so just seeing a guy like that, just we know that running backs can kind of be a little bit expendable now in the league. It's unfortunate. But now you have a good 1-1 punch with Marlon Mack and now Jonathan Taylor. I just think it's going to take this Colts offense to a completely new level that they haven't sniffed in the running game. I honestly do. So that's why he's my favorite pick. Initially, on draft day, he might have been one of my least favorite picks because I was like, why would you waste that on a running back in the 2nd round? But after I saw the production of Jonathan Taylor, I was like, you cannot argue with that. He is phenomenal. And the Colts arguably got the best running back in the 2nd round. And I just think that's fantastic. They only gave up a 5th round pick. They got another 5th round pick back later on in the draft. So, it didn't really hurt them that much. But overall, Jonathan Taylor, I think, is my number 1. Michael Pittman is my number 2. What do you think, Derek?
I'm not going to deny anything you said there with what you said about Jonathan Taylor. I can't dispute those. Those are facts. I mean, that Jonathan Taylor adds another level of dominance to that running attack that the Colts have. But I'm going to go with Michael Pittman at number 1 and Jonathan Taylor at number 2, just because in the way you can use Pittman in a multitude of ways, and at the fact that wide receiver was the most needed position for that, and Michael Pittman was that guy. I mean, Frank Reich went as far as to say he might be the best wide receiver in this whole class. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily go that far at the moment, but I mean, when you look at his production and you look at the lack of drops and everything like that, I mean, it does make sense that you could put Michael Pittman up there with those tier of wide receivers that you mentioned outside of, Henry Ruggs and CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy. I mean, Michael Pittman's name was in there among the tier 2 level wide receivers of this draft class. So just the way you can use Pittman in the short passing game, you can use Pittman in the red zone because of his size and his ability to catch the ball over top to make contested catches. It's just how smart he is, how he plays the game. I just think is going to make a bigger impact right away on Phillip Rivers. But, like you said, you can obviously make the assumption with Jonathan Taylor. Certainly, I think the Jonathan Taylor pick in round 2 was the biggest surprise or the biggest shock. I think you could totally agree with that. I mean, if anyone did not watch the live stream of when I was doing day 2 of the draft, please go check that out and see my reaction. See my brother's reaction. That was one of the funniest things ever. I did not expect that for the life of me. But, I mean, again, both of them were very solid picks. They're both going to come in right away and contribute to this offense. So that's going to do it for the 2020 Colts draft class. We're going to have one more video after this one. We're going to talk about our top 10 best draft picks of the Chris Ballard era and our top 5 worst draft picks of the Chris Ballard era. And we'll have that video going after this one. So thank you guys again so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed. And as always, go Colts.